Right, welcome back to the program. You're still watching Daybreak on Trust TV. It's time for us to take a look at the front pages this morning, bring you up to speed with some of the stories, and we start things off with a look at the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper for today, Thursday, September 5th, 2027. These are some of the stories you can find on the pages of the Daily Trust newspaper. From the top, Gbajabiamila can't take over National Assembly's oversight role. This is according to some House of Representative members. I wonder what this is all about, because he's now the Chief of Staff to the President, although he was the immediate past Speaker of the House of Representatives. And this is, of course, coming from the Deputy Spokesperson of the House of Representatives, Philip Agbese, who says that the Chief of Staff to the President cannot take over the oversight duties of the National Assembly. We'll get into the details in a moment. State police submit reports in 6 days. NEC tells 4 states and the FCT. Nigeria complex but not difficult to govern, according to Obasanjo. He should know that, because he was 3 times in charge of this country, once as a military head and 2 times as a democratically elected president. More on that story on page 30. The big story on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper talks about the petrol price hike as transportation fares surged by 50% nationwide. According to some of our callers, is even higher than that in some areas where the prices have gone up by 100 or 150%. The rider says commuters express worry protests break out in Delta. According to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, inflation may rise further. Afenifere, PDP demand reversal of increase. TUC asked government to rescind decision. Tinubu didn't bargain fuel price for minimum wage, according to the presidency. More on that on page 4. Gunmen attack 2 plateau communities, kill 7. Banks' loans to private sector hit 2.3 trillion naira in 1 month. Is that a good thing? Bad thing? I don't know. Check out page 19. But it does appear that it could be a stimulus for production and an expansion of businesses. Well, let's hope those loans do not default. Africa, good place for investments, Tinubu tells Chinese investors. Finally, at the bottom of the front page, insecurity in our region must end now, according to ACF and Northern Elders. That's the Arewa Consultative Forum. Let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper, the front page of the Guardian newspaper for today. Our final stop. Outrage as high cost of petrol scarcity push businesses to the brink. More on that story on page 6. Elsewhere, NEC sets deadline for state police reports, releases 3 billion naira flood relief funds. Obasanjo, Anyaku, others lament impunity and poor leadership. Federal government reviews prisoners' feeding allowance by 50%, raises budget to 45 billion naira. Guess what? We started the show with a story from the Correction Service, and they say over 57,000 of the prisoners we have in our custody or in our prisons or custodial centers are all awaiting trial. So maybe we don't need more money to feed the prisoners. Maybe we just need a speedy dispensation of justice so that we don't incarcerate people that don't need to stay longer than they need to in those prisons. Buhari, northern governors, Saudi Arabia condemn Yobe killings. And there's a lot more of that on the pages of The Guardian. Finally, over half of sponsored bills in National Assembly in last 1 year recycled. Okay, we talk about not being fit for purpose. This is exactly what most Nigerians are talking about. All right, let's bring in our analyst and newspaper reviewer, a friend of the house, Malam Nasir Lawan, editor-in-chief of Deadline newspaper, is joining us this morning to help us navigate some of the tricky news stories we have this morning. Malam Nasir, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to be here.
I don't know, on a personal front, how are you adjusting to the new pump price, obviously?
Well, wherever you are able to, walk it, you do that. When you need to use a vehicle, you also do that. You just have to, look at it before you even start.
How much more thought goes into planning your movement now, largely because of this particular situation? I mean, the streets are a lot more emptier than they usually are during the week now because of the price hike.
Well, that's very true. Actually, there are so many places that I used to visit, that are no longer, on the card
no
now.
longer on the schedule now.
No.
Right.
Yeah, if you can make a phone call, I think that's
exactly. That's the tricky part, obviously. But in delving into the issues, let's talk about this story from the House of Representatives, because the deputy spokesperson of the Nigerian House of Representatives, Agbese Philip, stated in an interview with journalists in Abuja about how, there are so many instances where, he did say that he was misquoted in an earlier position about Bajabiya Miller did nothing wrong for embarking on oversight functions. He later went on to say, listen, there are clear demarcations about what the executive does and what lawmakers, do. Do you think that, there is an element of an overreach on the part of the chief of staff to the president?
Honestly, I don't think so, because the fact that, the Constitution gives that responsibility to the National Assembly to play the role of oversight, that does not mean, the executive on its own part cannot monitor its own appointees. And that's basically what the former Speaker of the House of Reps, who is now the Chief of Staff to the President, is actually doing. Because if it is something that is wrong, he should be the first to know. It's not like somebody that has never had any legislative experience. This is someone who has been in the National Assembly for close to 20 years, being a speaker, so many things.
And it doesn't look like he's taking over their jobs, right?
No, certainly, but probably there is some information that he's likely to uncover, maybe which they don't want Nigerians to know. Because if not, why should they have any reservations? Because the only thing he can do is to play the role allowed by the Constitution. This is not something that replaces what the National Assembly should do. So honestly, I don't think all the hula value is even necessary.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like a storm in a teacup at best. Let's talk about state policing, because the NEC, which is a National Economic Council, has given states and the FCT 4 days to submit their report. It looks like we're edging closer to a likely outcome of there being a state police becoming a reality, especially given the current security challenge that we continue to face. How much more of this do you think is actually going to lead to the possible creation of a state police apparatus that is different from that of the federal?
Well, to start with, I don't think those 4 states and the FCT will make any presentation, because they've had all the opportunity in this world, to make their own position known. And, there are some governors who are against the idea of even state police, like the governor of Borno State. He is clear. If you allow the governors to control police, people that carry arms and all that, honestly, the opposition and those in the bad books of the government, they will find it very difficult to exist in those states. So, and like the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, his own argument has always been, imagine the states not being able to pay salaries, of their own workers. And then you now have somebody with arms in his possession, and then you don't pay him. That's a recipe for disaster. So honestly, I also believe that we are making too much noise about the state police issue, because if we are serious, even the current arrangement, we can make the most of it, because this is what we have at the moment. But if we continue saying it's because we don't have state police, that's why so many things are happening.
Do you think further decentralization of the current structure would serve the purpose?
Oh yes, certainly it will, because if you have like people playing the role of policemen in their own locality, you are likely to have better intelligence, you are likely to have more information that an outsider may not readily get.
Obasanjo is back in the news again. He's saying Nigeria is complex but not difficult to govern. I don't know if you've had time to look at what he had to say, but do you think there's, what he's saying is tied towards what Nigerians are experiencing right now, and how he's saying, listen, things don't have to be this complicated with the right kind of leadership?
Oh yes, in the beginning we thought he will allow President Tinubu to, have like a good honeymoon, but he is now in the news all over the place, letting us know his own state of mind. But like he said, I don't also think Nigeria is difficult to govern. That's if you are ready to play by the rules. But if you want to, cut corners, if you want to satisfy some interest, certainly you will find it very difficult, because people have diverse interests. Some will want you to do the right thing, some will want you to cut corners so that they benefit. So honestly, if we are ready to play by the rules, of course Nigeria will be very easy to govern. But are we ready to do so?
Yeah, that's a very big question that needs an answer to. Speaking of those developments that continue to shed light on the dysfunction within the system, the Adult Consultative Forum and some members of the North are talking about insecurity and a variety of issues. Yesterday in the meeting in Kaduna, they talk about how there is an urgent need to address some of these gaps. They talk about unemployment, rising poverty, insecurity, and a variety of other issues that have undermined the growth and development of the northern region specifically. What do you make of their messaging, the timing, and the impact it may or may not have on the state of affairs?
Well, these are people that are being blamed, for some of the realities on the ground in the north, because most of them, have held one or two positions in the past. So the first thing that some northerners will ask is, what did you do when you were there? And but now it's never too late, actually, to put pressure on the government of the day to do the right thing. And it's not just a northern issue. This is about Nigeria. It's not as if you are somebody from the south living in the north, you will
have a different reality.
Simply because you are from the south. No, this is a Nigerian reality. Wherever you are, we are facing the problem of insecurity and what have you. You may be somewhere in Imo State, for instance, but possibly your business is somewhere in the north, or you may be in the north, but what you do, you are being patronized more in the south. So honestly, it's good that they are coming to do that, but they shouldn't make it like a regional issue. This is a Nigerian issue, and if we are able to tackle it, then the whole Nigeria will benefit, not just the northern part of the country. But like I said earlier, Nigerians know those that they voted for. We all know those that are in power. We know those whose responsibility it is to actually do some of these things that these people are talking about. Yeah. So to make it your own responsibility, well, it's good, but then I think you are trying to take, like Nigerians will say, take paracetamol for somebody's headache.
Some have pointed out how the message is, although important, could actually make a lot more sense if they had done it years before now, because these issues that they're pointing at have been reverberating, have been there for such a very long time, whether it's insecurity, poverty, the problems with education, enrollment. They talk about the Almajiri, out-of-school children also, and things like that, that they were pretty much mum all during the Buhari years when, we had a northerner as president, and maybe when their call to action or wake-up call could have made a lot more impact, because then he would say, if my people are actually feeling this way, maybe I need to do more. Do you think there's a point there to be made about, the timing of it and, the Tinubu administration being in charge and why they're voicing some of these thoughts out?
Well, if you remember, during the administration of Muhammadu Buhari, there was this allegations that he has peopled his government with northerners, in most positions, especially in the security architecture. So former President Buhari can now come out to say that, okay, I've done my best for the North. I've given you the position, you know, to be able to change things. You didn't do that. So what are you like now trying to say? So it's like I said earlier, this is something that Nigerians will consider like they're trying to make it a regional issue. Like you said, if you couldn't talk while a northerner was there, when a northerner was there, then you would have like forfeited your right to talk now that somebody from another part of the country. Are you concerned
that, you know, they're coming at this issue from a regional point? I mean, not that the issues are not germane or that are not peculiar to the North, but they are known as the Arewa Consultative Forum. They usually opine on things concerning the North. So is it out of the norm for them to, you know, narrow it down to the regional level?
No, certainly it's not. Even Afenifere is doing the same thing. So honestly, but like I said, we have a common reality as Nigerians. It's not about where you come from. You know, right now we are having so many challenges, you know, before us, and it's not about being from the south or the north.
All right. On the whole petrol price hike, I know we've talked about this significantly. Afenifere PDP is calling for reversal. Man is saying inflation will rise further. Transportation hike is obvious. TUC is asking government to rescind the decision. But more telling is that from the presidency, one of the senior special assistant to the president on print media, someone I believe you know all too well, says that the president did not concede that there will be no further price hikes during the minimum wage negotiation. And Labour is saying, listen, we know what the president told us. It was 70,000 or 250,000, and then I spiked the price of PMS to make up the differential. Quickly on this one, what is your reaction to the back and forth?
Well, I think the government should worry, because I remember during the negotiation with the Labour, they were clear that they will make available some CNG vehicles. You know, there are certain things that they promised to do. Right now, there are very few, if at all, you know, CNG vehicles flying our routes. So people are now relying on the same petrol, which is still very costly. So like you can see, the price, the cost of transportation has doubled in some places. So it's not about what the president promised, the Labour, what he didn't promise. It's about what Nigerians are now facing. Whether there was a promise or not, this is our reality now. The president should find a way of addressing it.
All right, we're going to have to leave it here for now. Mara Nasser, as always, thank you for your poignant assessment of some of these you know, news stories that continue to develop and shape the lives of Nigerians. I appreciate you very much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, and that is it from us for today's edition of Daybreak. We will return tomorrow live at 8 a.m. as always, exclusive to Trust TV. Until then, my name is Abdullahi Ahmed. For myself and the rest of the team, good morning, and do stand by for 360 Sports coming up at the top of the hour.